and today I'm here with my third quarterly book haul. So that means all the books I got in the third quarter of 2020, so July, August and September. I got 11 books, which is more than last quarter, but I don't remember how many books I had in the first quarter, so I can't tell you that much about it. But I already read 3 books of this, and I'm in the middle of the fourth one. So I think this might be like the least that I've read already, you know? But I've got some big books in here that are intimidating, and then I got most of the books this month. This month has been busy. So let's just begin. The first book I got in July is Anna K by Jenny Lee. This is an Anna Karenina retelling. It takes place in New York on the Upper East Side. Kind of Gossip Girl-esque. It follows like the richest people in the city. And even though we follow like a lot of perspectives, the back only talks about Anna, so I give her storyline. Anna K has always been like the good girl, following the rules, never really stepping out of line, and she's been in a relationship with this guy for years, and they are planned to get married someday because they're still teens. They don't have official wedding plans, but like that's kind of expected of them. And then one day Anna comes across a guy who's kind of known to be a player, but they immediately like fall for each other, and there's some romance turmoil there. And then we also follow Anna's brother and his girlfriend, and then his girlfriend's sister and her relationship and twists, and so many more characters, and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I read this originally for the reading wish, and then I just like dropped out in the middle of it because I wasn't feeling it anymore. But yeah, I'm really excited for the sequel to this novel, because even though like this winded up really nicely, I'm curious to see what's gonna happen in the second one. Then the second book I got in July is The Girl Who Speaks Bear by Sophie Anderson. In like June and July I was like in a huge middle grade mood, so I picked this one up. This one follows a girl named Yanka, I believe that's how you pronounce her name, and she was found in like a bear's cave as a baby, and now she's like growing up in like this town, and she never really felt like she fit in, and there's like this weird contact she has with like animals and like the forest, and feels like a constant pull towards it. And then one day she gets bare feet, and that causes her to go into the forest and try and learn more about her past and like where she came from. And yeah, it's a cute middle grade novel. It has great illustrations in it. Let me show you one. And the illustrations are done by Catherine Onesta, I think that's how you pronounce her name. And yeah, just a very cute story. And I also read this to really wish that I dropped out of. I almost read these back to back. And yeah, it's a cute standalone adventure. Then the next one is a chunker, and I debated on getting this for a while, but I have it. So let's House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. This is the first book in the Crescent City series. I think it's going to be a trilogy, but I'm not entirely sure. This is massive, very floppy, but I'm kind of conflicted on Sarah J. Maas. I really like her Court of Thorns and Roses series, and I'm not a big fan of the Throne of Glass series. I only read 3 books in that series, but I'm not the biggest fan of it. But I've heard so many great things about this book, and it just sounds like a lot of things that I like reading about. And yeah, I'm just very interested. This is also her first official adult novel. We all know some of her novels are definitely not YA. Then we are moving in to the books that I got in July, which is another 3 books, of which one is a chunker, but oh well, these are not in the right order. So the first book I got in the month of August is Midnight Sun by Stephanie Meyer. I don't really know what to say about this. This is the 5th book officially in the Twilight series. It's basically Twilight but through Edward's perspective. I believe it only follows the events of Twilight, but I'm not entirely sure. And I've heard from a lot of people that this was actually really good, but I've also heard some negative things about this, so I don't know. And the next book I got is another one that I read, and that's Loveless by Alice Oseman. This is my first Alice Oseman novel. It follows a girl who has never been in a relationship, never had a crush, and she's very much into fan fiction and like rom-com, so she feels like she knows romance, but just in real life it's never really anything that happened around it. And then she goes to college, and besides just trying to discover herself in college, she's also forcing herself to make friends and fall in love possibly. But as she gets to know more people and gets to know more queer people, she learns the terms asexual and aromantic, and basically the whole book is about her main character like learning about those terms, what they mean, and how those terms could fit her and her life and what that means. And I really love this book, and now I can read more by Alice Oseman, because this was really good and I really liked it. And then the last book I got in the month of August is Imagine Me by Tara Maffey. This is the last book in the Shadow Me series. I haven't read this because I don't know what to expect from this. Only came out in Dutch in August, and I'm having like the Dutch editions, so that's why it's maybe a little bit late. But I've heard very mixed things about this book. I've heard people say that they absolutely hate it. I've heard other people say it's like super good. So I don't really know what to expect from this. I only know that the one that came before this was very disappointing. So I'm hoping better things from this book. Then we're moving into the September haul, which is the biggest one. And I all got these in one go because I can't decide. The first one I got is Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. This is a Collins Classics edition. I really like these editions because they're cheap. That's the main reason. They're just cheap ways to get to classics. I feel like a lot of classics are like really expensive and like fancy and stuff, and I don't need that, so I appreciate these for being cheap, and I have a whole collection of them. And with the movie being released, like the new movie being released last year, just have heard amazing things about the story over the entirety of 2020, so I'm excited to get to this whenever I'm in a classics mood in the future. Okay, so I had a small interruption in filming, I'm sorry, but I'm continuing now. The next book I got has beautiful sprayed edges, and that's Aurora Rising by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This is the first book in the Aurora cycle. So this book is by the same authors who co-wrote the Illuminate series together, and I really love that series. And then Amy Kaufman also co-wrote These Broken Stars, which is the first book in the series, and I've only read that first book, but I really enjoyed that one as well. And Jay Kristoff is the writer of the Nevernight series, and again, with the first book, loved that first book. So when this came out, I really wanted to read it, but I just didn't really get around to buying it yet. And then I saw it in the store. It had beautiful sprayed edges, and I just knew I had to buy it and check it out. I've heard, again, mixed things about this, but I feel like, again, this was just dependent on expectations people had while going into this novel. I know now that this is very ridiculous and very campy, and I can appreciate stuff like that. I really like just like ridiculous stories as well, so I'm sure I'm gonna have a fun time with this, at least I hope so. Then nextly, I have another book I'm super excited for. That's 10 Things I Hate About Pinky by Sanjay Manan. This is the third book in the Dimple and Rishi series. This is a series of companion novels. I read Dimple and Rishi when it came out, and then I did really enjoy it, and I kind of just like Sanjay Manan stayed on my radar, but I never really like read that much from her anymore until this year. I completely fell in love with her. I read From Taken With Love, which is a standalone novel, which I wasn't that big of a fan of, but I still really appreciated it. And then I recently read That's Something About Sweetie, which is the second book in the series, and also the 2 novellas in the series I also read, and now I'm just super excited for this. Then we have some more sequels, the first one being A Beautifully Foolish Endeavor by Hank Green. This is the second book in the Call series. The first one was an absolutely remarkable thing, and I really enjoyed that book. That book is about a girl who comes across like this giant statue, and she calls up a friend and they make a video about it, thinking it's just like an art project of someone, and she names the statue Call, and then they find out that actually these statues have been appearing everywhere over the world, and she is, and because she's like the first person to have some like public involvement with these statues, she's kind of seen as like the spokesperson of this phenomenon. And it, even though it does have like that sci-fi element to it, it mainly focuses on being a public figure, being an internet persona, just like Hank Green is. And I feel like the first one is I haven't read this one yet, but the first book I feel like most accurately encapsulate what it's like to be like a YouTuber or an influencer. And yeah, I can't wait to get around to this book. I'm still debating if I should reread the first one or not. Then we've already arrived to the last book, and that one is the one I'm currently reading. So not a sequel. That's The Lost Book of the White by Cassandra Clare and Wesley Shue. This is the second book in the Elder Scrolls series. I have book 1 right here. This is the Red Scroll of Magic. I'm going to show you quickly. This series follows my bookmark is falling out. This series follows Magnus and Alec on adventures all over the world. Let's put this one on the front because that's the one I'm actually talking about. Adventures all over the world. This one takes place in Europe. This one so far takes place in Shanghai, but I don't know if they're gonna move out of it. But it takes place all over like the Shadowhunter timeline. And I'm not gonna say that much more about it because I feel like it will cause spoilers, but this one takes place I believe like half a year, like a couple of months after the Tales of Shadowhunter Academy, and it follows the entire Mortal Instruments gang. But that's all the books I got this quarter. I knew it was gonna topple over. I didn't know that book was gonna be the one to do it. But that's all the books I got in this quarter. Let me know in the comments section below what you thought of these books, if you've read them, so I know which one to prioritize and which one I shouldn't prioritize, as well as some of the books you bought this past quarter. And then I guess I'll see you guys next time. Good.